The Chapter 9 folder, which is inside your project files folder on your desktop. Go ahead and open them up. The other thing too, sort of standard fare here, I'm going to hit Shift Tab yet again to get rid of those panels, and I will hit the F key on my keyboard to go into full screen mode here. Now the Quick Mask mode, what's it all about here? Well, it's creating selections inside Photoshop, but we're actually going to be creating our selections with the painting tools. We're not really going to be relying on the selection tools here inside Photoshop. So let's take a look at how all of this is going to work. I'm going to zoom in on my Buddha here just a little bit. And I find it easiest to get started anyway with the Quick Mask mode with some kind of a basic selection. It doesn't have to be very accurate, just sort of something to get us started here. So the way that I'm going to go about doing this with my Buddha here is I'm going to use my Magic Wand tool here inside the toolbox. Grab him. Make sure your tolerance is set back to the default, which was 32. I don't know if you remember that way back in one of our earlier chapters. And I'm going to click right on his belly, right about there. And you can see I grab part of the Buddha there. I don't get the whole thing though. So you may want to use your Shift key and you may want to add a little bit to your selection. This sort of thing. You know, I'm not really happy with this selection. I'm getting too much of the books here in the background. You know, I'm going to deselect here, just Control D on the Windows side or Command D on the Mac. I'm going to try this one more time here, maybe a little bit further down on his belly. And I'll use my Shift key here. There, that's a little bit better, something like that. I could be risking it here by going one shot more. Well, I got lucky. All right. So I just want some kind of a rough selection here before I actually start working with my Quick Mask. And it's with my Quick Mask that I can refine this selection and getting it looking a heck of a lot better than it is right now. Alright, so how do we actually get inside Photoshop's Quick Mask mode? Well, I could go all the way up to the Select menu here, up at the top, and I could go down to Edit in Quick Mask mode. That's one way to do it anyway. Or instead, what I could do is I could click on this little button down at the bottom of the toolbox. That'll flip me over to Photoshop's Quick Mask mode. So what you're looking at right now is indeed a Quick Mask. Now, anything that appears in this red overlay, what we would call a red rubylith, is not selected. Anything that is completely clear here is selected. So remember I had clicked on his belly here, that part was selected, and part of his shoulder was selected and so on. As a matter of fact, I can go back to regular old Photoshop just by clicking on the same button down at the bottom. There's my original selection. So I can actually toggle back and forth between the Quick Mask mode and regular old Photoshop with this button here. As a matter of fact, there's an even faster way to do it. Just hit the Q key on your keyboard. Q for Quick Mask. That's a good keyboard shortcut to remember. I could also double click on this icon if I wanted to. That'll get me into my Quick Mask options. Maybe there's a lot of red in my image already, and I don't want to use red as my overlay. Well, I can switch that color to any color I want. As a matter of fact, maybe I'll switch my overlay to a blue, for example, and maybe I want to crank up that opacity. Maybe I'll bring that up to 75, for example. Something like this. I'll hit the Q key on my keyboard. There, now my overlay takes on the new settings. So it's completely up to you, however you'd like to set up your Quick Mask. I'm going to double click back on my icon here. I'm going to set this guy back to the defaults here. That was 50 for the opacity. The other thing I can do is I can flip the defaults. The masked areas are filled in with color, or I could set it up so that the selected areas are filled with color. That would give me this sort of a look here. Not my personal favorite way of working. I'm going to go back to the defaults here. And I'll head back into my Quick Mask mode. All right, now we are ready to start painting inside Photoshop's Quick Mask mode.